How we doing, everyone? And happy Monday. Happy new work week.
Yes,
It's
sir.
Richie of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. Here with my guy, guest of the show today, Mr. Daniel Nunez,
Yes,
looking
sir.
like one of your favorite actors in Name Your Favorite Hospital Drama. He's got the scrubs on coming out of class. Good
Yeah,
to see you,
yeah.
brother. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. On this Victory Monday, it was gotta say it's good. And you, my brother?
Can't complain, man. I too am saying something that I'm not used to saying on most Mondays. It is a victory Monday for me. It's been a challenging year for the New York Football Giants, but albeit very ugly, a win's a win in a very difficult league to win in. And you know what? I will take it.
And I'm
Yeah,
with you on that. Oh, go ahead.
no, you're good, brother. Yeah, a big bunch of events going down in the football world. You know, your quarterback Jalen Hurts continues to add to a streak that is already an NFL record, which is consecutive wins against teams with winning records. That number has now been driven up to 14,
Yes.
getting the W over the Buffalo Bills yesterday. Former Eagles coach Andy Reid just continues to pile on to his winning numbers. Travis
Mm-hmm.
Kelsey gets to 11K. The Chiefs get another W.
Yes.
You know, there are other variables that could decide who's going to be in the Super Bowl this year. But it continues to appear at different junctures, and then given the game you had last week, that it could very well be a Super Bowl rematch, something that we haven't seen since the Cowboys and the Bills of the 90s. That's how long it's been since we've seen a Super Bowl rematch in as many years.
Right.
You know, that in back-to-back years. That would be something. A lot of football get to play, and this is the fun part of the year because this is the time of the year where you start getting teams that are like exercising like their last life, trying to sneak into the back door of the playoffs. NFC is full of teams like that right now. You got the Packers that are starting to play better. You got
Yes.
the Rams that have been up and down all year, but they're starting to look like they can have something to say. Then you get a couple of teams that are currently in playoff position that might be falling out. The Browns in the AFC could be a team if they can't get better quarterback play that could fall out. In the
Right.
NFC, you got a Seahawk team that's been kind of going through it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you got your elite teams that you know are going to be fighting for home games, home field advantage, and then you have these middle tier teams that some of them show moments of brilliance that you're like, oh shit, if one of these teams get in the playoffs, they could end somebody's season early.
Yes.
We're going to start with our division, the NFC East. And before
Mm-hmm.
we talk about your team or mine, we might as well talk about the teams that weren't on the docket yesterday.
Right.
Dallas Cowboys, Washington Commanders. Cowboys win, true shellacking, 45-17. Sam Howell has been promising in his rookie campaign. The Commanders' offensive line may be the worst in the league. And I'm going to ask you a direct question, Daniel, since it's
Sure.
pertaining to our division.
Yes,
Do
sir.
you think this is the beginning of the end for Riverboat Ron to be canned, or do you think that he survives the season?
Well, I think he's gone. I think after the firing of Jack Del Rio, uh,
Yes. Yes.
I was expecting a totally different outcome. I thought the Commanders were going to give a way better game against Dallas,
I tend to
but
agree.
but it just look it's they look different from when they played the Eagles, the Commanders. I mean, they were just like I mean, Sam Howell was on it, but I think the engine that of Sam Howell is starting to show signs of what a rookie unfortunately goes through. And you gotta look at it this way. I'm a Dallas hater, but I'm gonna give credit where it's due. I think for Bland, or there's I believe the safety, I believe, or cornerback,
Hmm.
has set the NFL record for 5 games with a pick six.
Yeah, that's
That's
absurd.
that's
That's
unheard of.
absurd. Yeah.
And Dak, I mean, the way I see, yeah, we BS around, but I got to tip my hat off to Dak Prescott. I mean, um, that man himself right now and CD Lamb, literally, in my opinion, are carrying that team at the moment and the defense.
They made
But
the necessary adjustments after the Diggs injury.
yeah,
And to your point, the guy you just mentioned, Bland has stepped up.
but here's the point. But here's the question that still kind of like for them is, can they beat a winning team? They the combined record of teams they play is a 25 and I believe 25 and 56 or 57 something like that. The teams that are they have a big schedule, they have a tough schedule coming up. Miami, they got Seattle. The only reason why I think Seattle the way it is because Kenneth Walker wasn't playing, and Kenneth Walker to me is beast as a running back for Seattle Seahawks.
If I'm a
Uh,
Dallas Cowboy fan, or just these are my words, parity is a real thing in this league.
yeah,
And I think that most NFL fans in the year 2023 would agree that there's a lot more middle of the road to just outright bad teams and then a next level of bad, which is your Arizona Cardinals, which is your New England Patriots this year. And let's be honest, my New York Giants might have 4 wins, but we ain't doing anything impressively. I guess what I'm trying to say is that in a league where the elite, which is a very short list, and then everybody else, I do believe that I can't necessarily sweat the schedule that Dallas has right now because, okay, they lost to the 49ers in Santa Clara. Not a lot of people win in Santa Clara. They lost to the Eagles in Philadelphia. Not a lot of people win as visitors in Philadelphia.
right.
And they got their one stinker loss to the Cardinals, which could happen to any good team any given week. If I'm a Cowboy fan, this is what I'm saying. You have an opportunity now with the schedule beefing up to shut up some of the naysayers. And the only way you do that is by winning. They're going to play Seattle. They're going to play your team again. This is where they have an opportunity to kind of flip the script on what people think they are and what they aren't. I saw them battle with you guys tooth and nail a couple of weeks back in a game that I told you I think they should have won. And I have no bias because you're an Eagle and Keith's a Cowboy and whatever have you. There is literally no bias. I feel the Cowboys should have won the game. They didn't. And that's the way it goes sometimes. I'm sure you have a lot of Buffalo fans waking up on this Monday morning crying, bitching, and complaining. But at the end of the day, no matter what those referees did, and I will speak on that for a second, no matter what those referees did, my bottom line is when you miss 2 field goals,
Yeah,
it falls on you. One of them was blocked. The other one was shanked. And not for nothing, that defense was exhausted by the time. And Josh Allen played a very good game, but that one interception that he threw really hurt them.
and also too the penalties. They had 10 penalties yesterday. I believe there were 6 in the first quarter alone for Buffalo. Um, but I mean, it's just you're right. Two field goal misses um, that should have went in were missed. Josh Allen is beast. He literally turned my attitude towards him around. I mean, I've always loved Josh Allen, but Josh Allen was Josh Allen playing his best game yesterday. I think as the Buffalo Bill yesterday against Philadelphia.
I'll be
Um,
honest with you, Daniel, and disagree with me if you feel the need to. I believe that when it comes to a guy like Josh Allen, and when you look at what all the other quarterbacks' responsibilities are around the league, I think you could make a logical argument that maybe, with the exception of Lamar Jackson and maybe Patrick Mahomes, and actually, no, I'm not even going to put Mahomes on that list this year because he has a good running game, a good defense, and a great tight end. I don't believe any quarterback that starts on every Sunday, Monday, whatever day of the week they play, has more responsibility and more put on his plate than Josh Allen.
I agree. I agree with you on that. I have to totally agree. It's crazy. Uh, somebody saying, "Oh yeah." I mean, it is what it is. I mean, Josh Allen has, like I said yesterday, he proved yesterday. The way he was running on third and was getting it was the 3rd and 9, 3rd and 8. He will get that build that team out.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
on the road in that climate, because that weather was bad, because early on, we saw Jalen Hurts turn the ball over. We saw the Eagles make mistakes. Allen, as I alluded to, made one big one with that pick. He tried to force a ball in on a slant route that was very much a 50-50 play. And it was a good play on your defense's part, and credit should be given to James Bradbury, former New York Giant. Thank you, Dave Gettleman. Go to hell. But no, it was a great play by James. Definitely a momentum flipper. And within minutes, the Eagles were celebrating a touchdown and a lead. Ryan Shedd, frequent guest of the show, big 49er fan, that the non-call for the horse collar tackle was unacceptable. I tend to agree. I think the roughing the passer against you guys late in the fourth was kind of a makeup call with the Slay play that kind of went by the wayside. I mentioned this on our guy Anthony Lawrence's page. He's a big Eagle fan as well as on my own page.
Yeah.
It's no secret that I don't like the Philadelphia Eagles, but that's neither here nor there.
Right.
Whether it's the Eagles, whether it's the Giants, whether it's the Cowboys, whether it's the Bills, whoever, the Niners, the referees have to do a better job going into the postseason because I am tired of really good football games being remembered because of the zebras. Today, I want to talk about Jason Kelce having the toughness and the wisdom to go take a crap right before overtime started, because that's part of the reason why he went outside, why he false started twice.
Yeah.
That's a good meme. False farted, really, because Jason Kelce, you could tell that he had to relieve himself, and it's a war of attrition. Guys aren't always expecting to go into overtime.
Yeah.
Credit due to the Eagles line. At the end of the day, watching the game, when Buffalo had to settle for 3 to take the lead, I knew that the Eagles were going to win that game. There was no doubt in my mind. Do I think Josh Allen outplayed Jalen Hurts? I do. Do I think Josh Allen is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts? I don't like saying things like that. I'm going to say that every situation on every team and every team's role is different. Josh Allen has a lot of responsibilities that Jalen Hurts is lucky he doesn't have, because Jalen Hurts is a damn good quarterback. But when you have the wide receiver duo of Brown and Smith, and you have the best O-line in professional football, and you got to shout out Buffalo in a losing effort. They held DeAndre Swift to a very quiet night. So there's credit to be given out. When you have games like that, yeah, you might lose a game, but you got to try to take away the positives, because Buffalo is still very much alive. But my God, I said it to you off air. If their defense doesn't step up, their season is going to end very similarly to how it ended last year. And that's assuming that they even make the playoffs, because that's not a given.
Right.
I mean,
what you said about DeAndre Swift, if you look at some of the plays, he had some good long runs, and the last run that set up that touchdown for Jalen Hurts. I mean, yeah, he had a quiet night, but there were runs. He had a 36, 37-yard run he had.
Made it look easy. Kind of like a big kid playing with smaller kids in the backyard. That's what it looked like.
So I think, honestly, I tip my hat out to the Buffalo Bills. No matter what, they came in Philly, and it's like you mentioned, it's hard to win in Philly, and what's the trip is that the Eagles have tied the record now for the fourth straight comeback in NFL history. The fourth straight comeback this season.
It's remarkable. It's remarkable.
I mean, they were down 17-7 against KC, and now they were down 17-7. The same thing at half. And like I said, I tell a lot of my Eagle fans, friends of mine, I said, you guys panic too much. The last thing I remembered is it's a 60-minute game. At the end of the day, no matter how it is, a win is a win. Yes, we complain about the referees. Yes, we complain about this and we complain about that. But there's also other contributes that happen during the game besides missed calls. Like you mentioned, the 2 missed field goals, the 10 penalties that were called on them, and so on and so forth. The wide open to win the game where he was miscommunication.
Yeah, Gabe Davis ran the wrong route, and you could see the Buffalo OC as they were jumping to him on the camera. He just started praying because he couldn't believe it. Sometimes that coaches will get reduced to literally just praying, because you're like, what else cannot happen? At the end of the day, there's a reason why the Eagles are 9-1 or 10-1 now, and there's a reason why the Bills are 6-6. It's because in those critical moments, the Philadelphia Eagles made the plays that they had to make.
Right.
And when you think that the Buffalo Bills are 6-6,
I know,
and you look at that dynamic team, we already talked about Riverboat Ron. I'm going to say this right now.
Yes,
I think Sean McDermott is on the way out.
I agree.
Barring some kind of late season run here.
I totally agree with you. I think My Super Bowl pick was had to be changed because I thought really it was going to be Philadelphia and Buffalo. But now I'm still going to stick to my other way. I'm thinking it's going to be if it's going to be Philadelphia, Baltimore.
There's
Um,
a distinct possibility. It ultimately comes down to Baltimore avoiding the early exit. Lamar Jackson has not had the most luck in the playoffs,
right.
but this year does have a different kind of feel to it. And of course, you always have to account for the defending world champions. It's going to be
Yeah,
very interesting.
yeah. But if you look at KC though, I mean, let's be real. 14-0 down to the. I'm gonna call them Oakland. Oh my God, the
That's
Raiders.
okay. They were there forever. It's acceptable in year one. I still call San Diego from time to
Yeah,
time.
so do I. Yeah. Looking at the game, I didn't get to see the game because I was doing my studies and stuff. I was going back and forth with the Eagles and stuff. But to be down 14-0 to the Raiders,
Yeah.
I was even like, "Are we about to see an upset?"
Yeah,
Um,
definitely had that feel early on. I mean, you always got to give credit to a team that can pick themselves up off the mat after a bad start. And like anything else, I think Antonio Pierce is doing a decent job with those Raiders. His record drops to 2-2, but when you're competing with the world champions after the disarray that was your season prior to firing head coach Josh McDaniels and as well as the GM,
yeah,
there's more good than bad right now going on for the Raiders. Does that include a playoff berth? These next 5-6 weeks are going to reveal all of that. And we're going to flip it to a couple of teams that are not going to be joining the playoff party this year.
yeah,
Giants would need a miracle, but it's very unlikely. This is a legit reminder of how bad the NFL product can be. Giants improved to 4-8 on the year. And, to a lot of Giant fans' dismay, they drop out of the top 10 in draft position.
yeah,
I'm going to address the Giants, and then I'll talk about Coach Belichick from the Patriots. First and foremost, while I'm happy for the kid Tommy DeVito, and while it's a really cool story,
hmm
anybody in Giants Nation that thinks that this kid is the future truly needs to get their head examined, because I watched a game where you're playing a New England defense that's missing Matthew Judon. They're
right,
missing Christian Gonzalez,
hmm
and the Giants had to fight and claw for the 10 points that they got. Not to mention that you win the turnover battle 3-1.
right,
Early on, the Giants offense looked like they were going to put some points on the board. That fumble by Wan'Dale Robinson on the jet sweep kind of killed the Giants' momentum for pretty much the entire game. Mac
right.
Jones single-handedly helped the Giants. Bill Belichick finally decided for the second consecutive week, take him out. He puts in Bailey Zappi. Zappi actually engineered a drive, him and Ramondre Stevenson together. And the way the Patriots lost, I believe it was like a 36-yard field goal, shanking that. On a humorous level, I posted this on Facebook. I have a good friend of the show here. He saved the Sean Bradley on my phone, but his real name is Tim Macri. I hit him almost religiously once a game every Sunday for the last God knows how many years to ice a kicker.
Right.
And I'm not playing, Daniel. 90% of the time, I ice that kicker with my random text right as that ball's about to get snapped. I'm like looking at the screen and I like
Right.
time it out. Going back last year, Randy Bullock, our current kicker, when he was a
Yeah,
member of
yeah.
the Titans, 9/11 game. Bro, I do it all the time. You remember the game? You remember the game where Dexy was offsides a couple of years ago and Washington got a second kick
Yes.
and they beat us on the second kick because they missed the first one? Well,
Yeah.
guess what? I jinxed them on the first kick. But you only check it. You only get one a game, so you better make it count.
Exactly. We'll be paying you guys soon, so hopefully that don't happen.
Me coming humble. If it comes down to a kicker, you guys didn't show up because you should beat us by accident given our offensive woes. As the game goes, I'm looking for positives. All I could really say is that Tommy DeVito has a bit of an arm. The Giant defense is playing well. I'm not going to take that away from them.
Right.
But I also have to take into consideration the caliber of opponent. Giants are going to enjoy a bye week. And, this is a team that I said it off air, could be 6-6.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they're 4-8. And I keep alluding to the Jets and the Bills games. Those are 2 yards that we didn't get that are the difference between being a 500 team, which would literally put them right in the cusp of the final playoff berth. But with a third-string quarterback, non-drafted, with an offensive line that is pretty damn bad, it's a big ask. But these Giant fans need to chill out, because I love these Giant fans that are pissed off that we won a couple of games and now we're out of the top 5 in the draft pool for now. That could change again. And I'm like, guys, do you even watch college football? Most of them don't. So who do you think's in this draft? Are we going to draft Joe Montana in this draft? Are we going to draft Tom Brady? Your general manager has literally been telling you for the better part of a month that whether you like it or not, number 8, Daniel Jones, is going to be the starting quarterback next year. This team needs a right tackle. This team needs an edge rusher. This team needs more continuity at the skill positions. And I'm not absolving Daniel Jones from all his problems.
Right.
But if somebody is going to try to make a case for Tommy DeVito being the dude when he beat the worst offensive line in football, followed by the worst starting quarterback in football, when Daniel Jones got his teeth kicked in by the Cowboys, Seahawks, 49ers, and Dolphins, before you guys lose your minds and jump to conclusions, can we at least be reasonable and look at the caliber of opponents that Jones played? Not to mention that he didn't have Saquon Barkley for most of those games.
That's true.
Woo! Rant over. Okay. We're going to go to the AFC East.
Ooh.
Yeah. Jets and Patriots. I just got done talking about the Patriots, and this gives me a chance to talk about Bill Belichick here. They have nothing at quarterback. Bills cannot win a Super Bowl with their defense. Is Coach McDermott on the way out in Buffalo? I kind of already addressed a little bit of this with you.
Right.
And truth be told is, I think that we both have a growing suspicion that, yes, indeed, there is a possibility that we might not see Coach McDermott with Buffalo anymore. Miami Dolphins, not a pretty win on Black Friday, but by them beating the Jets, put themselves in a pretty good position.
Yeah, it has.
And
I hate the Jets, though, man. They're the only ones. The reason why we got the loss.
You're telling me? You're telling me about how I feel about the Jets?
Bro, oh yeah, you're right. It just, oh man, I don't sit down and think about it. I'm like, we could have been 11-0 right now at the moment. 11. Now we got. I mean, but it's football. That's it's any given Sunday, the way I like to call it.
Check it, bro. Yeah. You saw what New England suffered through going undefeated. It ain't all it's cracked up to be, and the pressure that a team receives by trying to be perfect is almost unreasonable.
Oh, yes, I totally agree with you on that. I mean, but these two teams, Jets and Patriots, Patriots right now, the laughing stock of the NFL behind Carolina. Oh, talk about Carolina. They fired Frank Reich today.
They most definitely did. We get to the South, going to mention that, but might as well now because that gives us an excuse not to talk about them later. Frank Reich, former backup mop-up duty quarterback that definitely had more than a couple of moments in the league. I'm not defending him. I'm not going against him either. Mm-hmm. I just feel that when you're trying to build anything in an organization, you cannot continue to be a revolving door around your choice. You guys hired him. You have to be honest with yourselves and say, have we given this man enough to work with? And if the answer is no, I don't necessarily think nor subscribe to the notion that you got to keep recycling coaches. They gave Matt Rule the big money out of college. Mm-hmm. He didn't make it past year 3. Right. And it's like, this is an organization that has a pretty good history in terms of success for a team that's only been around since 1995. But right now, they're at an all-time low.
Yeah, they are very low. I mean, 1-10. I'm looking at their stats right now. 1-10, 4-game losing streak. It's bad.
It's real bad.
But technically, I mean, the Falcons suck, but technically, they're only 4 games out of the NFC South. Believe it or not, the Falcons are 5-6, Saints are 5-6, Buccaneers are 4-7, and the Panthers are 1-10.
Let's park it here for a minute, and then we'll come back to the East since we're talking about it. Mediocrity reigns supreme in the South. Bucs lose. Falcons run their way. Literally run their way because they finally got back to running the football. They beat the Saints. Essentially, percentage points and whatnot given, you have 3 teams that have a chance at this division. Tampa has less of a chance, but they still have a chance. Right. You got the Saints and the Falcons. Mediocrity Last year, this division was won with a team with a record of 8-9. That was Tom Brady's Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year in his final stint, his final season. It's a week-to-week situation with this division. But when I look at the inconsistencies of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, even though they're mathematically very much still in it, I think this is a two-team situation between the Falcons and the Saints. And the Falcons won a game at home, a game that I predicted them to win. You know, they benched Desmond Ridder, they bring him back, and we said this on my most recent show. Brett and I did. The Atlanta Falcons all year have suffered from not having an identity. When you put that kind of draft capital into bringing in a running back like a Bijan Robinson to join Algier, as well as a very talented Cordarrelle Patterson, you got to stop trying to get cute. Run the damn ball. If you do that, you give yourself a chance to win because the Atlanta Falcons defense is not that bad. I personally believe they have the best chance to win this division because I do not have a lot of faith in Derek Carr.
I think, honestly, I'm going to disagree because I think the Saints haven't really played their full potential, I like to call it. I think Derek Carr, I honestly think the Saints are going to win the NFC South.
It wouldn't shock me. That's the whole point. But they may very well win it with a losing record.
I think Tampa Bay, if the Saints and Falcons don't get their act together, I think Tampa Bay might squeak in.
This is a golden opportunity that Tampa Bay has squandered because, like I said, nobody is playing good football right now. Right. So the fact that you could be a one-win team and only be 4 games out of first, that is remarkably bad. It speaks on how terrible the division is. And you remember a few years ago, 2020, when the NFC East had that one horrible year where the New York Giants were sitting at home waiting to see if your team go to hell, Doug Peterson. If your team would have beaten the Washington Commanders, the football team at that time, I knew you guys were better than them that day. And I was so angry that you guys didn't win that game. Doug Peterson tanked on national television to go up.
I remember. Yeah.
Oh, I was livid. I was so livid. And you know, we needed you guys to win to get in the playoffs. We didn't. Do we deserve to be there at 6-10? Probably not. But we were still in position. But it kind of speaks on the products of the NFL. You know, this is mediocrity central. And I got news for you. There is nobody in this division that is winning a playoff game.
No, not at all. They're gonna get one and done. That's it. They're out. They'll be out of the playoffs in the first round. I don't see them. I don't see them at all. I think the first round matchup will be Dallas possibly playing one of these teams if Dallas stays in the wild card, which I don't see the Cowboys catching us.
No, I don't either.
I think so. I mean, it is what I mean. Like I said, it's any given Sunday, man.
Well, that's the beauty of the game. I mean, we've seen a 7-win Seattle Seahawks team beat a very good New Orleans Saints team. We've seen it over the years. And then once again, like I said earlier in the show, it speaks to parity. The reason why any of these teams have a puncher's chance is because if they win the division, no matter how crappy their record is, they're going to get a home game.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, man.
Back to the East for just a quick moment.
Sure.
I did want to ask you this.
Sure.
Do you believe that this is the end for Bill Belichick?
Yes.
At least in New England.
Yes, but they're saying that he's coming back, though. So we can say yes, but I read a little thing last week, an article. If I can find, I'll send it to you. He has committed to come back to the Patriots in 2024.
Well, that's one to keep an eye on because it is very interesting. And, like, you know, sometimes the papers could get out of hand because super recently, the Giants beat writers were saying that Wink Martindale and Brian Dable aren't getting along. And how does Brian Dable respond to that? By presenting Wink Martindale with the game ball of yesterday, giving him credit for the job his defense did. So, like anything else, can't always go all the way in and believe the media, but I also understand that it's a little bit of everything because I don't think you have to be a genius to know that the Giants are probably rather tense in that organization because this was a year that had a lot of good expectations that, quite frankly, just haven't been met. Yes, to the AFC South, we've got C.J. Stroud, a huge game, but the Texans fall short on a field goal clang. Jaguars even up that season series. Most importantly, the Jaguars take a 2-game lead in that division. If they would have lost, Houston would have been in first.
Yeah, I know. I
Pretty
think
wild.
oh, sorry about that, Rich.
No, you good, brother.
The Jaguars, and I've been riding with Jacksonville since Peterson became head coach. I'm an Eagles fan, but I always loved Doug Peterson for bringing us that championship. That team is good, no matter how they. I mean, like I said,
Yeah.
that team is. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, man, that's a big dude.
If they could ever learn how to win at home, it would be scary because they have definitely succeeded in the England games. They've succeeded on the road. It's in Duval where they really struggle, and if they win that division, they're playing a home game. They got to get shit right at home.
No, I agree with you. I totally agree with that. I think once they start tweaking it a little bit, I mean, watch out. That's all I gotta say. Watch out for the Jacksonville Jaguars because they're missing a few pieces, I believe, to get them to the next level. Etienne, they're running back.
Yeah, he's a beast.
And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know but do they have Calvin Ridley?
They most definitely do. Him and Christian Kirk actually put on identical stat lines yesterday.
Yeah, so I mean they got.
He's been a bit of an enigma this year, where 1 week he looks like an All-Pro, and another week he can't catch a pass, or he doesn't get featured in the game plan. So it has been a little topsy-turvy in terms of what to expect.
Right.
But I must admit, right now the Jacksonville Jaguars are the best team in that particular division. I wasn't a believer a few weeks ago, but as the season gets closer to ending and things start making sense, it's not going to be the Tennessee Titans. Coming into the season, the Tennessee Titans were my pick.
Right.
And it's my belief in what Mike Vrabel could do. But right now, Will Levis, even if he gets better, he's not going to win you a game right now. Derrick Henry is a phenomenal talent.
Yeah.
But this is a team that for so many years, I just feel that they have neglected other positions and have just used Derrick Henry as a bell cow. And now it's like, I don't know. I just see so many squandered opportunities, wasting all those years with Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, and then if you look at it, we're also not talking about are the Indianapolis Colts. Gardner Minshew, the stash.
Speaking of the Jaguars, former Jaguar quarterback prior to Lawrence.
Yes, sir. And I mean, yesterday I was watching some of the highlights of the Colts game, and I believe they won their game yesterday.
They most definitely did. Beat the Bucs.
Gardner Minshew. I mean, I just like that quarterback. I just like the way he is. I mean, yeah, when he was a backup for Jalen, he lost 2 games, but that guy got grit. There are certain
backups that carry big personalities. He's one of them. Another guy that's recently retired, not too many years out of the league. Ryan Fitzpatrick kind of carried that big personality. A guy that you could root for, Hell, the guy who got fired, Frank Reich. Yep. He was one of those backup quarterbacks that people kind of gravitated to and said, you know what, this is going to be interesting.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah, buddy.
Now that Frank Reich got fired from Carolina, where do you see him going possibly?
I would have to think that at this juncture, he's probably going to get an OC role or a quarterback coach role, something in that neighborhood. I can't necessarily see him getting another head coaching gig after failing again.
Okay.
But crazier things have indeed happened. But I believe that it might take a step back to go a step forward. And sometimes guys in this league, it just comes to fruition that they are better at being coordinators. I mean, you look at, Steve Spagnuolo. He had an opportunity to coach the Rams when they were still in St. Louis, and he had an interim gig with the Giants super briefly at the end of Eli Manning's career.
Right.
But, he's kicking ass and taking names with the Chiefs right now. You have other coordinators too, but for Reich, to answer your question, I believe that he's going to catch on somewhere, but it's probably going to be in an OC or a quarterback coach role.
All right.
Because there's only so many coaching positions out there. Yeah. AFC West.
Ooh. Let's talk about it.
Well, you already alluded to how the Chiefs came from behind to take care of the Raiders. I think a headliner here that should be mentioned is that the Denver Broncos are gradually, quietly getting back into the playoff picture little by little. I'm not surprised that they beat Cleveland. as much as I think Cleveland plays hard, their quarterback situation is going to bite them in the end.
Yeah, I that's five straight for the Denver Broncos. Um,
They're playing
I
great ball right now. They really are.
they and every time I have picked them, they've won. So I'm hoping whatever they play next week, to see who wins. But gotta tip my hat out to Russell Wilson, man. I mean, that
He's
man.
starting to look like himself again.
I mean, it's like they started off bad. They're 1-5, but they're like, oh, I was even like, really Denver, like the laughing stock of the AFC West. Like, come on now.
For
But
quite
then
some time, that's the position they were in, even going back to when they had Nathaniel Hackett out there.
you got to look at the next last three games they have played. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs. They beat the Buffalo Bills
Those are big
and
wins.
Cleveland Browns.
Yeah,
Cleveland Browns.
A Browns team that now suddenly is showing signs of maybe fatigue from the season. I mean, you're talking about losing Deshaun Watson. Now you're putting a lot of trust into a guy who has very limited game in game experience. You know, you lost Nick Chubb earlier in the year. This is a team that you know, they did sneak out one last week, but it's just watching them on offense is like watching paint dry. You know,
Yeah,
it really is. And their defense is championship caliber. You know, if they could just get a little bit of an oomph on
yeah,
offense, things could potentially change because, you know, the 2000 Ravens won a Super Bowl like that where their offense was literally a shit show and their defense just always found ways to overcompensate. But, you know, that was a different league back then, too, because now
yeah,
everything is pass first, pass always.
yeah. And back in the day, talking about the Ravens, they had Suggs and they had Ray Lewis.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
It
indeed. And, you know, transitioning it from that era to right now, the Baltimore Ravens, I think, are starting to get severely disrespected with how so many football fans, media members alike, just kind of overlook them. This team has the best record in the AFC. It's not the Bills. It's not the Chiefs. You know, it's them. And when are these guys going to start getting some respect? I think is a decent question to ask.
we should know about that, bro. We should know about respect because going back to when the Giants were the team that upset the Patriots in the championships, and they were, I believe, was it 97 at the time, or what was the record was when the guys beat them?
That's exactly what it was.
Look,
It was 9-7.
looking at it, they weren't getting no respect. I mean, look at Philadelphia right now. We are getting the hate, and to answer what you're saying is teams that like Baltimore who are 9-3 right now, um, Jaguars 8-3, Dolphins 8-3. They're getting the respect, but we're talking about like in the NFC. Nobody likes Philly. They say we're the ugliest 10-1 team there is. But the last time I remember, you have to win a game. No matter.
I'm old enough to say that as a very very young guy, I remember the Jeff Hostetler led New York Giants
Yep.
kind of getting the same treatment from the
Mhm.
media, and I remember one of my dad's friends walking into the house after they were talking about their pick'em pools, and him literally saying to me, "Hey Richie, I know you're a Giants fan, but they are literally the worst 13-3 team I ever seen." Mind you, we had just got done beating the New England Patriots 13-10, and they were 1-15 that year. So I could
Right.
understand where the comment came from. Ultimately, my team did win the Super Bowl that year against the Buffalo Bills. But
Yes, the miss. I believe it was the missed field goal. I believe the one that shanked to the right.
oh yeah,
I remember
iconic,
that.
hard to
I remember
forget. Nobody in Buffalo will ever forget. If you're a Giants fan and you're old enough to remember it, you'll also never forget that moment. But I guess to answer my question, it seems like we share one thing in common when it comes to you know, grading this. If you want to get the respect, just keep winning. I guess that's the antidote, right?
gonna have it's got it has to be, but it's like why does it have to go that far? Why can't people just see, okay, taking away the biasm of what your team is, taking away of what how your team plays, where's the respect level going to be on how they play? I
Indeed.
mean, it's
Indeed.
like yesterday. Jalen Hurts had 5 touchdowns yesterday in total, 3 passing, 2 rushing. Yesterday, it showed a lot of grit. He said finally, you know what? Out the heck with it. I'm taking control of this game at the end. I mean,
Right.
so a true MVP takes control of the game, and that's what he did yesterday. I mean, what more can this dude prove? What more can this team prove to the NFL that they beating teams that have had winning records all year? But yet they always say the refs. That's fine. Go ahead, talk your crap. I don't care. Go ahead. But at the end of the day, the W is what matters.
I
Yes,
think
referees might have an influence on the game. I agree, but the way I see it is the game still has to be played.
I
With
think from the
you
eye
know,
test. I think from the eye test, it's the fact that you guys have had a very fickle way of winning like so many close ones. Whereas there might be a few other teams in the league, maybe a Miami team, or granted, you beat Miami, or maybe a Dallas team, granted, you beat Dallas too, that have been winning in more explosive ways. Because I said this on many a show. If there's something that I'm going to worry about with the Philadelphia Eagles moving forward, it's not their offense, it's not their O line, it's not their skill position players on offense. You're going to get Goddard back soon. It is my concern that the back end of that defense still gives up too many big plays. And I do believe that that could potentially stop the Eagles from winning it all. But on offense, I don't really see too many things to worry about because they have a lot of answers.
yeah, I have to agree with you on that. It yeah, but to do about Dallas Goddard, he is pushing hard to come back this Sunday against the Niners.
Yeah, I think
So
I would not be surprised if he suits up there. Taking it back full circle to the respecting,
yes, sir.
this is another team that's been winning a lot of close games. Okay, so the Pittsburgh Steelers did defeat
Oh,
the Cincinnati Bengals yesterday without Joe Burrow, of course. Um, Short and sweet, defense wins games, and the Pittsburgh Steelers have been able to impose their will more times than not in those kind of 50-50 games. The North in general has been that kind of division this year, but the Bengals, I'm sticking a fork in them. They're done until next year.
yeah,
Nothing against their current quarterback. I think he's actually a quality backup. I just think it's too much of an ask.
yeah.
I've already kind of stated that the Cleveland Browns could be in trouble of falling out of this thing because of quarterback play. Baltimore Ravens, best advice I could give, similar to the Philadelphia Eagles, just keep winning, bro. You keep
Yeah.
winning, things have a way of turning narratives in. But
Yes,
that's
sir.
kind of where I'm at with that part of it.
Right.
And as the NFC North goes, Thanksgiving Day shows us why the Lions are paper tigers. On the contrast, can the Green Bay Packers sneak in the back door with the improved play of quarterback Jordan Love? The pathetic Chicago Bears at the bottom yet again, top 5 pick on the way. Can the Vikings be the wild card team no one wants to welcome in? I'm going to talk about the Packers and the Vikings for a second. I believe that there's a lot of football left to play, but those are the 6 and 7 seeds, in my opinion. I don't think it's going to be the Rams. I don't think it's going to be whoever finishes second in the NFC South. I don't think it's going to be a third team from the NFC East. It's not my New York Giants. It's not the Washington Commanders. I believe the Green Bay Packers, with the enhanced play of Jordan Love lately and with still a very good defense, I think that is the situation. They sneak literally into the 7th spot, a place where they didn't get into last year. And I think the NFC North is sending 3 teams to the playoffs: the Lions, the Vikings, and the Packers.
Wow. Um, I'm gonna have to disagree. I think Green Bay gets in. I don't see Minnesota in it. I see the Rams in it.
So you got a
I
little more
think.
faith in the Rams than Minnesota, is what you're saying?
Yeah. I think. I don't think Dobbs is the answer. I think his luck is starting to run out. They have a game this Monday night against the Bears. They should beat the Bears. I mean, hopefully they beat the Bears. But after that, I just I'm not sold on the Vikings, man. I'm not. Green Bay, yes, I think Green Bay. I think with Jordan Love starting to shape up now, and you're starting to see them with the right receivers. I mean, they literally came out blazing against the Lions. I mean, I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
expecting a close game, but it was a nice little reality check for the Lions. I mean, like I said, I see them the Packers maybe the number 6, and I see the Rams at 7. Um, I just
All
don't.
right.
It's not
Currently,
so
Minnesota is in the sixth. Minnesota's a real interesting case because they started off the year 0-4 and then
right.
proceeded to win 6 of the next 7. They're
Yes,
coming off a loss after winning 6 in a row. Denver did beat them. That put them at 6-5 for the year. Rams are
right,
5-6. Packers are starting to climb as well, as you just stated, as we just stated.
sure.
It really comes down to how this plays out for the final stretch. But I will say this: the reason why I do have faith in the Green Bay Packers being one of those teams is simply because of the fact that they get to play the Chicago Bears one more time.
Yeah.
Whereas in the Rams case, my concern with them is that I believe their schedule in general is going to be a little tougher. And I do think that Matthew Stafford has taken quite a few hits this year.
Oh,
And
man.
I am a little concerned about that for their fate, but we'll see. I mean, these are how the show began. I talked about parity and I talked about how so many teams are tight. And there's no different here when we talk about the final teams of the NFC that are going to try to sneak in. But I think one thing that you and I probably could both agree on is that there's no denying the fact that the Detroit Lions are literally paper tigers. I mean, go back to last year, Minnesota Vikings. My team goes in there and just messes up their day and messes up their beautiful 13-win season. Obviously, you guys got a hold of us the next week, and that was quite the humble beatdown. But this is the thing. This year's Lions, to me, look like literally like last year's Vikings. And it's the same division, and it's the same kind of story. I like what Dan Campbell's building there. I do. But this is a team that it's been proven that they still have a lot of fixing to do on the defensive side of the football.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I just was like I said, the Lions they are mediocre. 8-3 record. It's a good record. It gets you in the playoffs, but like really, it's can Jared Goff literally take this team to high standards? Maybe, but as of right now, no. They should have beaten the Packers on Thanksgiving Day. They should, but now it's kind of was a revenge game for what happened last year when the Packers were trying to get into the playoffs.
For sure. And
And
they actually beat them in Green Bay earlier this year, too. And this is interesting. They're good. The Lions are the last 2 years of Lions football have been better than probably the previous 10. But the thing is, they still can't win on Thanksgiving. They just never win on Thanksgiving. You know, no matter what year it is.
yes,
We're going to be
sir.
changing gears because I think we have exercised everything that we needed to speak on in the NFL right now. Before we get out, I will get your final prediction on your opponent next week.
Okay.
But I do want to flip it over for a little fun. Daniel
Oh my
Nunez.
God.
Yes, sir.
Oh.
What are your thoughts on Survivor Series War Games? Lots to unpack here, man. Randy Orton
Oh.
coming back from career-threatening surgery. He made an
Yes.
appearance yesterday in a big way, joining
Yes.
Team Rhodes. You have CM Punk, and I like how WWE played this.
Yeah, I know.
They had
Yeah.
Orton come out when everybody thought it was going to be Punk. They finished the match, and then while they're celebrating, this is where they caught you off guard. Now CM Punk enters the arena.
Yeah.
WWE in an era where it's so hard to hide anything from the internet with wrestling magazines galore and many writers that cover wrestling, they did a great job of concealing that CM Punk was in the building.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a pay-per-view that I'll never forget, bro. Um, watching it with my fiance, watching it with my kids. It was I was all right. CM Punk don't show up. Randy Orton.
I
'Cause
didn't, I didn't think he was showing up, bro. That shocked me.
me too. Randy Orton was one of my Mount Rushmore wrestlers. of course, I always have Ric Flair as number one.
Fair.
Number two, you have The Undertaker.
Yeah,
Number
another good choice.
three, you have Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Nothing wrong with that
And number
choice either.
four is Randy Orton. People might disagree. Hey, that's fine. Everybody has their Mount Rushmore as a wrestlers, and I'm cool with that. But to see Randy come out jacked the way he looked on
He looked good,
Saturday,
bro. He looked good.
I'm gonna tell you right now, bro. I'm still recovering from the weekend of watching it. My voice, I literally flipped the script. Jumped off my seat. I acted like I was a 10-year-old kid, dude, watching my first wrestling match. But I'm gonna tell you, when CM Punk came out, I lost it.
Dude, I
I,
almost lost. I was eating some ice cream, bro. And like when he came out, I was so stoked that like I almost nailed my own couch with like strawberry ice cream, bro. Because like I couldn't believe that he was really back because we heard rumors that he
yeah,
did meet with the company, but that they just weren't. And not to mention the very real heat in real life with he and Triple H, Paul Levesque. So it
yeah,
was very cool to see the powers that be do what the fans wanted and put business gains before personal BS. So
yes.
shouts out to Triple H for making that happen.
And I don't know if you read about more of it, but nobody knew CM Punk was gonna come until the last 10 minutes of the show. So
Really, I did
Triple H,
not know
yeah.
that.
So I follow WrestleFeed,
Okay,
and
okay.
what it is, they were talking about the last 10 minutes of the show. So Triple H took over the last remaining 5 minutes. CM Punk had just arrived, and they said they're gonna go out there, and then you're just gonna go out there, and you're just gonna, hey, what's up, everybody? So it kind of like, okay, it kind of went, the camera went back, had the little, copyright, whatever. As soon as I heard cult of personality, and I just looked, I'm like, is he really there? Like,
It
don't
took
do
me
this,
a
Triple H.
second because I remember they punked us when Hulk Hogan was a free agent briefly, and they hit
Yeah.
Real American, and then Briscoe and Patterson came out.
Oh
And
yeah.
dude, when they fired, when not fired, but when Scott Hall, rest in peace, and
Yeah.
Kevin Nash left the company to go to WCW,
Yes.
they had a horrible gimmick where you had a fake Diesel and a fake Razor Ramon, like if that was supposed to be like the same thing. They were like WWF at the time was trying to push that it don't matter who's playing the character. I
Yep.
created these characters and it could be done. And to the wrestlers' points, I think for what it's worth, they did a good job in a very tough situation because there's no
Yeah.
replacing Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. Those are icons.
Yep. To look at it too, if you go and look what happened Saturday, Seth Rollins and CM Punk actually have heat.
That
At
is
the end of the
factual.
show,
Yes.
CM Punk was flipping off, literally flipping off CM Punk. And the way I see it is, to make it short and sweet and simple, just to really make it quick. Excuse me. CM Punk is there. CM Punk now is gonna eye Seth Rollins, and CM Punk might be a free agent. So the way I see it is this: you got Randy Orton back, and you got CM Punk back. And on that horizon coming back is Big E. Big E is almost there to get
That's
cleared.
right. He's almost back too.
So Roman Reigns, and I don't care what anybody says, Roman Reigns' title is in deep shit. I'm sorry I don't know if I can use that kind of language on the show,
No,
but
you good, you good, you good.
he's on deep shit. You
Yeah.
still got Cody Rhodes, who the best match of Survivor Series, in my opinion, there's two. Was the women's War Games match that is just amazing how they did it.
Women's
I mean,
wrestling, I'm gonna hit on that on the way out, but they have
yeah,
compared to what women's wrestling used to be overlooked, overshadowed, almost just fit into where they feel like they forced it and didn't give the product no love.
yeah,
And it's a shame, shouts out to the old wrestlers like Moolah, Sherry, Lalane Kai, whose daughter is now in that racket. But the point is like back then, women's wrestling didn't get it like that. You had moments of brilliance with like Trish Stratus back then. You had Lita. You had Sable. You had the Bella Twins when it was kind of going into the Diva era.
yep,
Charlotte Flair and every other woman right now that are in the top rankings have basically pushed that product to a
yeah,
different stratosphere. And quite frankly, if I'm running the company, I feel just as confident with the women main eventing any show on any night of the year. And that speaks volumes about
Yep.
how far women's wrestling has come.
I agree, man.
It's awesome. It's truly awesome how far they've come.
Yes, sir. I agree. I mean, to see Charlotte Flair jump off the cage the way she did,
Yeah, dog.
that was insane, bro. I was just like, whoa, let's go.
And Randy Orton's finisher? That
Oh,
might
dude.
have been one of the most absurd ones we have ever seen. And to your point about Roman Reigns, it comes with the workload. You know, he's chasing Bruno Sammartino, he's chasing Hulk Hogan and all these other guys, like breaking records and all this other stuff. But the point is, with that rigorous workload and the fact that this man has beaten leukemia 2 different times, I do believe that from a health standpoint, they are going to be taking the belt off of him sooner than later.
The way I see it is, I understand he had, I mean, off the ring persona, he's an amazing guy, I've heard. But in the ring persona, you're a champion. This is why I say Gunther is the man right now at the moment. And said, if you're a world champion, your goal is to defend the title, not be a little wuss and not be a sissy and not want to defend your title out of it. Dude, you got an obligation. Okay, now you're on your contract might say, well, I'm going to be a part timer now and this, da, 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 da. You got Seth Rollins whose back is made legitimately messed up. You got Gunther who defended his Intercontinental title against a very defined Miz, I got to say. What I want to see is Gunther, Roman, unify the titles. What happened? By the way, Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan did in WrestleMania 6.
That's correct. That's correct.
Why don't we do that? Why don't we put Gunther? Why don't we put him against Roman? Because Gunther can beat you in many type of ways. He doesn't have just have a power bomb. No, he can beat you with a sleeper hold. He can beat you with a Boston Crab.
He's the wrestler's wrestler, and I think the cool thing about what they did with the Gunther character is that they're bringing back a much needed credibility to the IC title. Because back in the 80s and in the golden era of the company and even parts of the 90s, normally the person that had the IC title was a top 5 guy in the company.
Yep.
And for years, we saw that title get put around damn near anybody. But now with Gunther in the picture, I feel that he has moved up in terms of the credibility. And to your point about Roman Reigns, I got mixed feelings on it. But one thing I will say is that this is a company that for years and years and years has always kind of bent the rules for whoever has that strap. We saw them do it with Hogan after Mania 9 when Bret Hart basically carried the company for a year and they just put it around Hogan just because he decided to show up that night. Yeah. You know, we saw it with credibility things with Survivor Series 97 when Shawn Michaels walked out of the arena. Not so much that he got the title, because we knew the Bret Hart the Montreal Screwjob.
Sure.
You know, we knew about where that was going, but the point is that, you know, wrestling's a very fickle business. And, you know, the crazy thing about professional wrestling is why they might come into your living rooms every day. It's hard to believe that wrestlers don't have health insurance or that they're literally looked at as contractors. So I do have mixed feelings because I'm never going to get mad at the wrestlers for getting over. That's one thing that I got to give Brock Lesnar props for. He never let nobody boss him around and say what it's going to be. And Ultimate Warrior, you know, I don't like to speak ill of the dead, but while a lot of people close to him, working with him, said that he was a complete asshole and a me first person, when you think about how many wrestlers have dropped dead way before their years and the ridiculous sacrifice that business takes away from being with your family, I do indeed understand both sides of it. And it's kind of like a ball player getting his. You know, it's like I always tell people, don't hate the player, hate the game. But I definitely wanted to, you know, hit on some of this because I think it was definitely some valuable feedback here. And I know how much of a wrestling fan you are.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Speak on it, man.
Well, this was a good time, Daniel. I appreciate your feedback on all these topics. And, you know, I told the viewing audience in the past, we're going to make some time for it. It's been tough with football season being the biggest thing happening right now, but I do want to put together a legitimate wrestling show for my wrestling heads out there. We're coming up on the final minute, but I just wanted to say thank you for watching. Have a great
Hey, Daniel, I came back.
That's
Had an
right.
issue. It looked like our screen froze as we were going into the final minute, so I'm not even sure if YouTube's going to catch this part. But I just want to
Oh,
say to everybody, thank you for watching. Almost knocked
yes.
down my Christmas tree trying to get to the phone to shut it down. But have a great day, everybody.